Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We are back with our monthly sponsored video from Plex, and this month I've got a very fun project involving some open source software that will allow you to program your TV shows on your own private virtual TV channel. And this will actually be available through the Plex Live TV feature as a regular channel. Now, you could, of course, in Plex go in and just shuffle your TV shows, for example, and that would play episodes from each of these shows randomly. You can also do it on the TV interface there, as you can see in the right-hand corner. But you don't have a lot of control over exactly what gets shuffled and when. And I might want to have some cartoons playing in the morning for my kids, but then at night on my channel have The Tonight Show and David Letterman on in the evening like it used to be when I was a kid. And that is exactly what we're going to set up today. We're going to use an open source project to do it called ErsatzTV. And what this will do is it will connect up with our Plex server. It will keep itself up to date whenever we add new TV shows or episodes to the mix. And we can build out a programming schedule for the day. Now, what Ersatz will do is it will play one episode of the show in its time slot. And then the next time that time slot comes around, it plays the next episode. If I happen to tune in 35 minutes into the show, it's going to start at the 35-minute mark. This thing is going to be on a schedule, and it sticks to it. And that's one of the fun things about it. It's got kind of this nostalgic feel where you tune into a TV channel, and whatever is on when you tune in is what you're going to be watching. Now, you will need a Plex pass for this because Ersat links back into Plex via the Live TV DVR feature, which does require a Plex pass. And what's fun about this is that I can schedule my kids' shows in the morning for the kids to watch stuff, and then at night I can have Johnny Carson and David Letterman on at their usual time slot, just to have something on TV before I close up shop for the night and not have to think about how to get something turned on. It's just going to be there waiting for me on a schedule, and I think that's a really fun way to consume television again. So that is what we're going to pursue here. We are going to install this on Windows today. Ersatz, just like Plex, is multi-platform, so it's available on Linux and the Mac as well. They have standalone server applications, but you can also run it as a Docker container. So there's a lot of different ways to get it installed. We're going to stick to Windows just because it's the easiest to demonstrate in a video like this, but it will be the same from a configuration standpoint once we get it installed. So the scheduling and all that stuff will be the same across any platform that you run this on. Now, this is a paid sponsorship from Plex. They've been sponsoring the channel now for the last 7 or 8 years. They did not review or approve what you're about to see before it was uploaded. Additionally, ErsatzTV is its own separate project. They did not have any role in the creation of this video either, so this is all very much organic, and all of the opinions you're about to hear are my own. So why don't we get into it now and see how we can get Ersatz running with our own TV station. Now, Ersatz has some very helpful documentation on their website. As you can see here, it leads off with the Docker option, which is the preferred way to go. It's also very easy to keep things up to date with Docker. Below that, you've got some Unraid instructions. They do have a community application plugin in Unraid, which makes it very easy to set up. And if we go down a little bit further, you will see the manual installation options for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And if we click on the link here, what this will do is bring you to their GitHub page to the latest release. You scroll down a little bit and you will see the executables that you can download here. Now, a little bit earlier, I did download the Windows version to my downloads folder. And what we're going to do here is just extract the zip file again. So we'll go to extract all and just dump it into that folder there. And what we'll get now is the full server install that we can put into place. So these are all the files that we need. I'm going to go over to another folder that I created inside of a media folder off of my C drive, just to have this live near some of the other files that I'll be using for this project. And I'm just going to copy these files into my Ersat folder here. The next step is we run the Windows executable. This will start the server up. They did not get this application signed, so you do have to go to the More Info and Run Anyway option here. And when it does run, you'll see nothing on screen because this all gets configured over a web interface. But if we go down to the taskbar, you will see there's a little ETV icon down there, and that is how you know Ersatz is running. And we can go over to that icon, right-click, and go to Launch Web UI. And that will take you into the configuration screen here. So we have to wait for its database to initialize, And once it has, we will begin the configuration process for our TV channel. All right, our server is now up and running, and the first thing you'll notice here is that we've got a warning about hardware acceleration. By default, hardware acceleration on the Ersatz side is off. So what we're going to do real quick is turn it on. We're going to go to FFmpeg Profiles. I'm going to click on Edit here, and I'm going to enable the VAPI hardware acceleration. If I had an NVIDIA GPU, I would use NVMC, and QSV and AMF are used for other configurations. You may need to look up which one you'll need depending on what you have installed. But with the Intel chip here, I'm going to go with VAPI and hit Save Changes. And if I go back now to the home page, you'll see that the warning is gone. I've got a new little information item here about some different drivers that might help. I'm not too sure what that means. I don't know if I have to download another plugin or something, but it looks like we do have hardware acceleration now enabled. The next step is to start getting our media attached to the Ersatz server, and we're going to connect it to our Plex media library so we can keep everything organized in one spot. Why don't we get into that? So what we're going to be doing is attaching my Plex TV show library to the Ersatz server. And in here, I've got my David Letterman collection. I've got my Johnny Carson collection here. I've got Star Trek. I've got some cartoons that I want to have running in the morning. And I've got Bluey that my kids might want to watch around dinner time. So we've got everything kind of configured here. So what we're going to do is jump back now to our Ersatz server. And we're going to go over to media sources. And here we're going to connect up our Plex server. Now you can connect media locally, and we might do that in a little bit. But a bulk of my media I want to have from the Plex server play on this channel. So what we're going to do here is click Sign into Plex, and it's going to bring us over to this login screen. I'm going to sign in, and this will get everything connected. So now we can close this window out and go back to where we were, and we just have to wait for everything to refresh here. I might hit the refresh button and see if that gets us something different, and there it goes. And what we're going to do is connect here to my test server, so we're good there. And we'll go in and refresh the libraries real quick and go into Edit Libraries. And as you can see here, we've got TV shows, and I'm going to click on Synchronize and click on Save Changes. So now we have that TV show library syncing up to our new TV station server here that Ersatz is hosting for us. So now we've got that done. Now the initial import will take a little bit of time, so be patient, especially if you have a large Plex database. If you go over to Media Sources Libraries, you'll see your Plex library that's coming in listed, and next to it you'll have a percentage indicator to let you know how far along it is. When it is done, what you can do is go over to media, and in our case TV shows, and you'll see all of the media that came over. And anytime you add something to Plex, it will show up here, but the changes don't go from Ersatz back. So your Plex server is going to be managing, in this case, all of the TV shows. But I do want to add something else, and what we're going to do is go back to media sources here and go to local. And in this section of other videos, I'm going to add a folder that I have with some commercials from the 80s. These are like the old PSAs that you'd find on the Saturday morning cartoons, because I'm going to try to stick to as tight a schedule as possible where we try to start shows at the hour mark and keep it very rigid in that way. And in order to do that, we're going to need some filler to kind of fill in some of the shorter shows to get us to that very strict half-hour time schedule that I want to set up here. We'll see how well I do with that as we work our way through. So I'll back up here just to show you what I just did. I went over to Other Videos. We're going to go to Edit. And what we'll do here is add a path. And I've already put it into my clipboard. This is where I have all of those advertisements stored. See Media TV Shows Filler. I'm going to click Save Changes here. And now I've got some additional media added to the mix. And if I go over to Media, Other Videos, you can see all of these commercials that I've got locked in and ready to go. These are all 30-second commercials, and Ersatz figures out where to place them to get the schedule as close to where you want it to be as possible. At least that's the plan, and we'll see how well it does that. Now, one thing to note here is that I can't place these commercials individually. I have to group them into a collection. So a collection is either a TV show, like we just set up before, or individual media that you've grouped together in some kind of collection topic. So for example, if you had movies that you wanted to put onto your schedule, you can't pick Star Wars directly as a media file to go in. You have to pick a collection that contains Star Wars to put it on the schedule. So one thing you could do, for example, is create Tuesday night movies, and you slot in the Tuesday night movie collection, and those movies will only play on Tuesday nights when you schedule that collection. In this case, we're going to create a collection called Filler, and what I'm going to do here is just select all of my commercials, and that way we can add them as a single collection to our server here. So we'll say add to collection, and we will call this collection Filler, and we'll click here. So now we've got that hopefully ready to go. There we go. So we've added 9 items to our collection called Filler. Now that we've created that collection, we have to set up our mid-roll filler selection here so that we can get our schedule on track. And so we've got the collection now. We're going to go over to Filler Presets. I'm going to click on Add Filler Preset. We're going to call this mid-roll. And the filler kind will be mid-roll. So these will be ads that will play kind of in the middle of the content. The filler mode we're going to select is padding because we want to pad to a specific time frame here. And because I want to stick to a 30-minute schedule, we're going to have it get the video or the show stretched out to the hour mark or the 30-minute mark, depending on the situation here. So we'll select that one. And we will have the filter collection type be a collection because we just set up that collection. And we'll go over here to Filler and add the filler preset. So now we've got a filler preset established. Now we also have to set up something called fallback filler, which is filler that can get chopped up to get to that exact 30 or hour mark. So we'll hit Add Filler Preset here. We'll call this one Fallback. We'll select the filler kind as Fallback Filler. And what we'll do is assign it again to the same collection that we had before. This is something I think I'll tweak as I figure out how it all comes together and works, but I want to keep to those 30 and 1 hour marks there on the schedule, and this is what's required to do it. So now we've got our fallback filler and our mid-roll filler configured. So now, at least if I'm understanding the instructions correctly, I think we're ready to begin building out our channel because we have TV shows, we've got my collection, and I think we can start building out a schedule here. Let's see what happens. All right, so we're back on the Ersatz homepage here. I'm going to go over to channels. There is one built out already called ErsatzTV. It's kind of a demo channel here. So what I'm going to do is leave that for now, and I'm going to add a new one here. We're going to give this a channel number of 500, just so it doesn't conflict with some of the other live channels I've got on my server. And we're going to call this one Lon.TV, and we'll call it Group Lon.TV, I guess. And what we're going to do here is just kind of leave mostly things on the default. As far as the streaming mode is concerned, we're going to leave this as MPEG-TS. And the reason is that ErsatzTV can emulate an HD home run on the network, which Plex is compatible with. So what's going to happen here is that Plex, when it goes out to look for TV tuners on the network, it's going to see this server, and it's going to show up just like an HD home run does. So we can actually bring this over as a TV channel as far as Plex is concerned and integrate it right into our live TV function. And everything else here I think I'm going to leave as the default. And I can, though, upload some logos here and watermarks. So what I'm going to do is upload my logo, which I put on my desktop for my YouTube channel here. Here's my Lon.TV logo. So we'll upload that. And I think I can actually set a watermark here, too. I'm not sure how to do that. Maybe we'll mess around with that in a little bit. And I'll go ahead and add the channel. So now we've got my Lon.TV channel here. And the next thing we have to do is schedule it. So why don't we begin working on scheduling? All right, so the next step is to build out a schedule. And we're going to add a schedule here. I'm going to call this the Lon.TV schedule. I'm going to leave everything here just checked off, just to keep it as the default. And now we have a schedule, and we have to start some schedule items. So we're going to click on Add Schedule Item to begin. I'm going to set this to a fixed time because I want my shows to start at 6 a.m. So we'll set that at 6 a.m. And I think we'll start off with a television show. And when I was a kid, 6 a.m. usually was when Star Blazers came on. So we'll set that one to start. I will have the playback order set to shuffle. And I think what I'll do is I'll have it play an hour of the show here. So we'll select that. And that will give us 2 episodes. Now, the other thing I have to do is set my fillers so that we can have this stretch out to the full hour. So it'll play an episode, it'll put some of these filler ads in the middle, and that way we can have this run from 6 to 7 and then have the next show start at 7 a.m. when it's supposed to. So I'm going to select the mid-roll filler that we set up earlier, and then for the fallback filter, I'm going to do the same thing. And that is pretty much it. We've now got our first show scheduled. And what I'm going to do next now is go back in here and add in the rest of the schedule. And rather than bore you with this, I will get it all set up and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. All right, so I've got most of my schedule built out here. There's a couple of things that I wanted to show you. So we do have our schedule starting at 6 a.m. I'm going to run 2 episodes of Star Blazers, 2 episodes of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and then we'll do 1 episode of Mask and then the Mysterious Cities of Gold. And all these old 80s shows were usually in a 30-minute time frame in that you had the show and the commercials that would equal 30 minutes. And then at 9 a.m. we switched to Bluey. Now Bluey has these very short episodes. So for this one, I set it up not as an episode number, but as a duration. So I said for the kids, play 4 hours of Bluey, starting at 9 a.m. So it's going to play as many episodes as it can, and then it's going to put some ads from our filler thing in there as well to get us over to 1 p.m. And then at 1 p.m. we're going to run 2 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. At 3, when the kids come back from school, we're going to have 2 episodes of He-Man, the He-Man Hour. We'll do some more Bluey, again, durational. We'll have Star Trek The Next Generation run around dinner time. I'm going to run it for 4 hours just because I'm running out of content to put into my schedule here. I have to add a few more shows. And then I'm going to have The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson start at 10 p.m. And then what I did is I had David Letterman start dynamically. So what this means is that Johnny Carson's going to start at 10 p.m. on the dot. And then whenever Johnny ends, it's going to round up to the nearest 30-minute block. And then it will start the late night with David Letterman. And that's just because the Carson episodes I have are all of varying lengths. I think it was a 90-minute show back in the day, but some are about an hour, some are a little bit longer, so I figured it would be safer to do it dynamically. And then our broadcast day ends with David Letterman. And what the system is going to do after that is just run filler content up until we hit the next broadcast day at 6 a.m. So you could add different types of filler to make it more interesting in the overnight. You could add infomercials or something else just to fill the time. And I think you can get a sense as to what it's like to program a TV station. It's not easy, especially when you have to come up with all the content to put in there. So now that we have that scheduled, we have to assign a playout. So we're going to go over to playout. We're going to add playout because we have to assign this schedule to a channel. So we set up our Lon.TV station here, channel 500. And I'm going to assign the schedule to it and click Add Playout. And now we have ourselves a TV station. So let's go over to Plex now and we'll get this new TV station connected to the live TV function. All right, so the next step is we're going to go into our server settings and head over to Live TV and DVR. I'm going to click on Set Up Plex Tuner. And when I do that, we see my physical HD home run tuner here. And I have 83 channels off the antenna on that. But I also have my ErsatzTV, which is running, of course, on our mini PC here, and I can set it up. Now, if you don't see ErsatzTV on here after you did all the steps we just went through, you can manually add it, and in my case, it is localhost-8409, because that is the port that the server is running on. And when you do that and click on it and click Connect, it will get that tuner brought to this screen here. Now, if you have your Ersat tuner on a different server, you would put in the IP address for that server with port number 8409, and it should show up here because this, again, replicates an HD home run tuner. So let's click on Setup Device now. And what we have to do is click on this next link for an XML TV guide because we don't have a TV guide that we can pull off the internet here. And so what you do is put in localhost:8409/IPTV/XMLTV.xml, and then you click Continue. And now here's my TV channel, and it's got everything all mapped up. We'll click continue here. And when I boot up my Android TV device, check it out. We've got Star Trek The Next Generation playing here. Not only do I have the episode playing, but we also get the description of the episode that it chose to put in that spot. And as I scroll through here, you can see we've got additional episodes that are queued up and ready to go, and we got all the metadata from those. And then, of course, we've got The Tonight Show coming up at 10 and David Letterman at 11:30. So anytime I tune into this, it's going to be like a live TV channel, which is really cool. And a little later in the day here, I tuned into the TV around 8 o'clock to see what was going on. So at 7:59, it was running some commercials, some of that filler content. And then right at 8 o'clock, it switched over to Star Trek The Next Generation. I then tuned in a little bit later, just after 10, and Johnny Carson was on kind of midstream because I tuned in after the beginning of the episode, but it popped up just like it would on broadcast TV back in the day. And if I scroll forward here, let's go a little bit forward into the morning. So you can see this is my off-air period. Here we've got Star Blazers starting up in the morning. I can see exactly what episode is going to play. I've got He-Man coming up at 7 and 7:30. I did make some adjustments off camera between the time I set up the schedule and now. And then I've got my block of Bluey. We've got some more Star Trek. And there you go. It's pretty neat. I've got one gap here I got to fill in a little bit later. But this is really cool. It's kind of a fun thing. And as I add more content to my Plex server, I can add more to my TV channel. And there's always something on. I can add multiple channels, so I could have a channel just for Star Trek, for example, and maybe another channel just for Bluey and some of the kids' shows. So you really can get an idea as to what you can do with all of this. And I think it's kind of a fun little project. Certainly you can hit the shuffle button and just play stuff randomly on demand, but I think there is something kind of neat about the ephemeral nature of television, where stuff would be on at a certain time, and if you missed it, you missed it, or if you just want something to have some noise at a certain hour or a certain type of show at a certain time, you can configure this to do that. So lots of fun here. I will put links to all this stuff down in the video description, and until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.